Welcome to the Irene W. Pennington Planetarium. Before we begin our feature presentation, we'd like to introduce you to constellations and objects in our autumn evening sky. To orient yourself here in the theater, south is in front of you, north is behind you, east is to the left, and west is to the right. Let's start with a sunset and begin our tour of the night sky. Once our daytime star has set completely below the horizon and the glow of twilight has faded, we can see the light from hundreds of stars. As our Earth travels around the sun, we're able to see different constellations during different seasons. This change is due to the motion of the Earth in its orbit around the sun. Each day, a few stars are visible in the east that were not visible the night before. But don't confuse stars with constellations. Constellations are collections of stars, sort of imaginary dot-to-dot patterns in the sky, dreamed up long ago to memorialize the stories and beliefs at the time. For the most part, these constellations have their origin based on ancient Greek mythology. The autumn sky is notable for containing one of the more famous stories from these old Greek myths. It is the story of Perseus and Andromeda. According to legend, King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia had a daughter by the name of Andromeda. This young lady would grow up to be quite beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that her mother boasted how Andromeda was fairer than any other woman around. This hubris displeased Poseidon, the god of the sea. Poseidon sent a sea monster, Cetus, to ravage the land held by King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia. After learning of this oncoming disaster, the king and queen consulted with an oracle for advice. What they learned was shocking. In the hope to appease the god and save the entirety of their land, they would have to chain their daughter to a rock as a sacrifice to Cetus. However, the hero Perseus was nearby and heard of this plan against Andromeda. So Perseus decided to take action of his own. When the fateful day came to pass, Perseus flew in for the rescue, riding on the back of the winged horse Pegasus. He managed to slay Cetus as it emerged from the sea by using the head of Medusa to completely turn Cetus the sea monster into stone, thus saving Andromeda and all of the land. Years later, the goddess Athena would place these figures in the sky, where they remain to this day. If you can find the 4 semi-bright stars that form the Great Square of Pegasus, you can look just above and to the north for the group of stars that make up the constellation Perseus the hero. In his hand is the head of Medusa, whose eye is marked by the star Algol. Algol is a variable star, which means it changes in brightness over time. The change in brightness happens because Algol is what's known as a multiple star system. From our point of view on Earth, the 2 stars appear to eclipse each other as they travel in their orbits. Algol appears to dim in brightness every 68 hours and 45 minutes when the smaller, fainter star passes in front of the larger, brighter star Algol. This change is barely visible to the unaided eye. To ancient people, this twinkling star looked like the blinking eye of Medusa. Completing the cast of characters in our sky story, you'll find Cetus the sea monster as a diamond shape of stars just below Pegasus. Andromeda's father, King Cepheus, is a pentagon shape or upside-down house located high in the north. Queen Cassiopeia is an easily recognizable W shape of stars nearby. And finally, you'll find the V shape of stars just off the top left star of Pegasus to form the pattern of Andromeda the Maiden. However, Andromeda isn't only a constellation. It's also the name of the closest major galaxy to us, the Andromeda Galaxy. This is a great target for binoculars and telescopes on a dark night away from city lights. It is the furthest object we can see with our naked eye, containing an estimated number of around 1 trillion stars. By comparison, our own Milky Way galaxy is said to be home to around 400 billion stars. The Andromeda and Milky Way galaxies are on a collision course with each other, and in some 4 billion years will merge together to form a supergalaxy. If this sounds like a catastrophic event, there's no need to worry. The space between the stars is so great that, if we're still around, we may never notice anything is happening at all. Besides the stars and constellations, there are other objects we can find in our autumn evening. High in the southern sky are 2 planets, so far away that we can't see them without the use of a telescope. These are the outer planets Uranus and Neptune. However, closer to home, the red planet, Mars, can be found in the west, very near the horizon. Let's visit these planets and take a closer look. First on our trip away from Earth is the planet Mars. Known for its reddish color, Mars is also famous for being home to Valles Marineris, a huge system of canyons so wide that if they were on Earth, they would stretch all the way across the United States from Los Angeles to the East Coast. Mars is also home to the largest geological feature in the solar system, Olympus Mons, or Mount Olympus. Olympus Mons is what is known as a shield volcano, and it rises 3 times higher than Earth's tallest mountain, Mount Everest. It is actually wider than it is tall, so wide in fact that it is double the landmass of our own state of Louisiana. If you stood at the base of Olympus Mons, the entire horizon would be taken up by how far it stretches. It has taken billions of years to form and is now believed to be a dormant volcano. Here in the planetarium, we have the ability to venture from planet to planet and well beyond the stars. We can also journey backwards in time. If we were to visit Mars 4 billion years ago, we would see this. The young planet Mars would have had enough water to cover its entire surface in a liquid layer about 450 feet deep. But it's more likely that the liquid would have pooled to form an ocean occupying almost half of Mars's northern hemisphere, and in some regions reaching depths greater than 1 mile. Back in the present, we continue our journey to the outer gas giants. Yes, the 2 remaining planets that can be found in our autumn evening sky, Uranus and Neptune. As we pass the orbits of the 2 largest gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn, we are now almost 1 billion miles from the Sun. Saturn is the farthest object in our solar system that is visible to the unaided eye. The next planet, Uranus, is only visible through a telescope. Uranus is a strange and beautiful planet. Smaller than Saturn, Uranus is tilted on its side. Scientists think it was knocked over by a large object that collided with it long ago. The Voyager spacecraft discovered Uranus's delicate ring system. Unlike Saturn's rings, which are made of ice and very reflective, Uranus's rings are made of dark dust and rock. This makes them very difficult to see. Uranus currently has 13 individual ringlets that make up its ring system. So far, we've discovered 27 moons orbiting Uranus. Like the planet itself, the orbits of these moons are also tilted sideways. The bluish-green color is caused by an abundance of a gas called methane. The methane molecule is made up of 1 carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. Deep within the mantle of Uranus and Neptune, there is very intense heat and pressure. This causes the methane molecule to break down, leaving stray carbon atoms. Scientists believe that conditions here are just right so that the large amounts of leftover carbon become a sea of liquid diamond. It is likely that icebergs of crystallized diamond float on a sea of liquid diamond, which is believed to behave similarly to our water oceans on Earth. At 4.5 billion miles from the Sun, we reach the orbit of Neptune. This distant gas giant was actually discovered without the use of a telescope. In 1845, scientists recognized irregularities in the orbit of Uranus that were most likely caused by the gravitational pull of some unknown object. Using mathematics, these astronomers calculated where this unknown object would be relative to Uranus. Then they pointed telescopes at this location and discovered Neptune. Neptune was named for the Roman god of the seas because of its striking blue color. Like Uranus, Neptune's atmosphere contains large amounts of methane gas. The methane causes the blue coloration. Its upper atmosphere swirls around the planet at super high speeds. The winds on Neptune travel at nearly 1,200 miles per hour. Like the other gas giants, Neptune has powerful storms that rage across its surface. Out here, beyond the gas giants, billions of miles from home and leaving our neighborhood network of planets, we can see that the night sky still looks the same as if we were back home on Earth. This is because the stars are so far away that we would have to travel even further distances, far greater than just beyond our solar system, to see any real change in stellar scenery. In the planetarium, we have the ability to travel faster than the speed of light. Breaking the laws of physics, we can leave our galaxy to look at it from on high. From this vantage point, we can look back at home to see that our own Milky Way is actually a barred spiral galaxy, much like the Andromeda galaxy we saw earlier. About half a century ago, we thought that the Milky Way was all there was, but the more we look at the sky, the more we discover. Over the years, we've found quite a lot. We now know that the Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way are the two largest members of a grouping of galaxies called the Local Group, which in turn is also part of an even larger cluster of galaxy groups, the Virgo supercluster. Yet this still isn't even scratching the surface. Each colored dot you see here is not a star, but a galaxy. These are the Tully galaxies, a database formulated by Brent Tully of the 68,000 nearest galaxies to Earth. The color of each dot is not a representation for the color of the galaxy. It's only colored that way for categorization purposes. But each dot you see here represents a galaxy containing billions of stars. Billions of galaxies with billions of stars. Why, by current estimate, it is said that there are more individual stars in the universe than there are individual grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches. This can only begin to impress on you the scope and sheer magnitude of the universe. Keep this in mind as you gaze up on a clear, dark autumn evening to discover some of the celestial wonders of the evening sky and contemplate our place among the vast expanse of the universe.